Hello there. My name's Charlie Porter from San Diego, and I built this custom band organ, and I'd like to share a tune with you on it, one of my very favorites.
Well, hello everybody. We're back. It's Huell's Gold. I'm Chris.
I'm Allan.
And here we go. We're at episode 1.
We're going back in time here.
Yeah, not really. But as you know,
Do we need to rehash that?
you should know, but this may be your first time listening. This is episode 207, Preserving the Past. Technically the first episode of California's Gold chronologically. But we're not
It's
doing
just a mystery
Yeah.
why this is the case. Okay, we're just going to go with that.
Yeah. Episode 7 for us, Huell's Gold, breaking it down. So where do we start off on this? First time we're seeing Huell and the Explorer.
That was what I was going to say. This is the first shot of the Explorer. So in the first segment, Huell gives us a history quickie,
Yeah, it's like a little segmentette, little thing
Which-
to open it up.
which for me, this was new information when I watched it way back when. But he talks about Eagle Rock.
Yeah.
And, okay, I knew there was a giant rock.
I didn't even know that.
I figured eagles landed on it.
Makes
Something like
sense.
that, right? You know?
I thought it was just a name of a town. You know, there's many kind of like towns within the LA metropolitan area. And I thought this was just one of them. No, there is an Eagle Rock. I'm sure anyone from there thinks we're...
Duh, guys.
Yeah. So he talks and shows us the Eagle Rock. I actually drove past it a couple months back while we were still hashing out the deets of how this show would happen, how this show would go. And I didn't see the eagle. But doesn't Huell say it's...
Yeah, it's a specific time of the day when the sun and the moon and the stars align. It casts a shadow. It looks like an eagle's
Yeah, I guess.
face.
Or, yeah. It kind of looks like just when kids would draw a bird on a piece of paper, and it was just like a lazy V kind of a shape. But
To me, it looks like a sad pumpkin.
kind of, yeah. What isn't sad, though, is Huell's...
See, that looks way cool.
yeah, the painting of it looks better than the real thing of the Eagle Rock. But Huell's clothes. This is the first time we're seeing him. He's got the long sleeve denim with... We're kind of projecting on him again. A long sleeve tee underneath, because this
It could have been a brisk day.
has got to be,
don't know.
because this first episode debuted around January 91. But he kind of looks like an archaeologist to me here.
Yeah, looks like he's going to Jurassic Park.
Yeah, he does. He doesn't much look like this very often, but it ain't a bad look. But as you heard, the theme, that was Charlie Porter. What do you think of old Charlie?
I like Charlie Porter. He seems like a jolly guy.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see his T-shirt?
Yeah, it says, well, band organ something, and we're thinking, does this say ball? Band organ ball?
We thought it said dad, baby, band organ baby.
We slowed it down. I think it just says band organ ball, but
Which
it's
you
covered
know,
by the suspenders. But another thing that about Charlie that I liked is that
he had a
he's-
chocolate factory.
no. He wears the first of many straw hats in this episode.
Right.
There are so many straw hats.
It's either a straw hat or a mesh trucker hat.
They're almost exclusively
Only
that.
two options you get.
But what do you think of the band organ theme?
I thought it was cool, but it wasn't as cool as the glittery drop down logo of California's Gold.
Because the actual band organ, is it just playing on its own? Because he's not like physically doing anything. Is it automated? It's got to be, right?
It's a good question. I'd say yeah.
Charlie, if you're out there, let us know how this band organ works. We'll go to the ball, the band organ ball. But yeah, the glittery title in yet another font. They didn't seem to.
Well, did it? We couldn't see the top of the organ, but did it shoot out the top and then glitter down the front?
Oh, because this logo is doing a lot. Like
Yeah.
last week, it shot out of the plane. Before, it was shooting out of a cannon. Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
But Charlie down in San Diego with his band organ is not where we're going first.
And we wouldn't know because there still isn't. Well, this is technically the first episode.
Yeah.
So there isn't the outline of California.
This is the second week in a row that we're missing this. And
Come on.
I mean, you see on our Instagram that we love using those as like exactly how Huell did. That was the bedrock of where you started the episode.
Mm-hmm. I'm lost.
I don't even know.
Just lost.
Well,
Okay, so where are we going?
let's let Huell tell us where we're heading.
It's like going back in time. In fact, at first you think you're on a movie set, but all this is real. Welcome to the little town of Locke, which has the distinction of being the only town in the nation founded and settled entirely by Chinese. The Chinese first came to California to mine gold. They also played a major role in the construction of the railroads. However, when the first transcontinental railroad was completed in California in 1869, thousands of Chinese were suddenly out of work and ended up migrating to the Delta country to build levees and go into agriculture. In fact, a rather substantial Chinese population existed in the area, and many of the towns had Chinese sections. In 1915, though, a small group of Chinese, all originally from the Zhongshan district of China, decided to build their own town. So they leased some land right in the middle of a big pear orchard by the river, and Locke was born. For half a century, it was a thriving place, populated entirely by Chinese, all speaking the same dialect.
All right, so the beautiful but small town of Locke.
Yeah, you're not kidding small. I actually looked at it on Google Maps today, and, it's smaller than your neighborhood, the whole town.
The whole town?
Yeah, from what I'm seeing now, currently. I don't know if it's, shrunk in size, but it was a tiny place.
Actually, I think it has.
Has it?
Yeah.
Well, you did a lot of Locke research, so.
Well, a lot is relative. But
A lot.
it has changed a lot, but we can talk about that.
Yeah, we'll
more
get
in
to
a
it.
little bit.
Because the opening sequence, after you hear Huell give the little lowdown of where we're at, we're seeing parts of the town as it was in 1990 when this was filmed. And Louis at his best here, even though it's the first episode. My favorite part of this opening montage was that, did you notice the cat with the mouse?
I didn't.
It's just architecture shot after architecture shot, cat with mouse.
So for anyone interested, timestamp is 2:43.
Yeah. This actually looks like this cat that has been terrorizing my house for the last, I'd say, year. Just pooping in the flower bed, having litters of kittens, driving Louis the dog crazy. He loves his own brother cat, Charlie, but any other cat in the yard, watch out.
Have you named the cat?
No,
Do you not want to?
not really, but I guess I could.
All right, we'll think about it.
How about Cameron? After the...
Cameron Kirk?
No, Cameron Tucker. He took over camera duties for Louis once Louis retired.
That's true. You're thinking on a whole different level.
Yeah, I'm also jumping ahead like 12 years in the show, but we'll get there. We'll see you soon, Cameron. Not Cameron the cat. You can take off.
See you later.
Quit pooping on my lawn. Anyway, Locke, the town. It looked a little rundown.
Yeah, you're right. There isn't much to it. I mean, it hasn't been kept up. So in the segment, Huell mentions that they leased the land,
Yeah.
which is sort of an interesting thing. You found a town by leasing it.
And then who did they lease it from?
It was from George Locke.
So
It was
they named the town after the person they're leasing it from.
yeah, which is a nice thing to do.
Yeah. Maybe, I guess he was a good landlord of sorts.
Yeah, yeah. Well, everyone knows when the town came to be.
Yeah.
This was under California's 1913 Alien Land Act, which, as we discussed earlier, the Chinese were not allowed to own land.
Yeah.
And this wasn't declared unconstitutional until 1952. So, this is why they leased the land instead of
Makes sense.
purchasing it.
And, that's just one of many historical pieces of legislature, both local and national, that were pretty harsh on the old Chinese immigrants of California, because Huell went through it real quick, just the history of Chinese immigration in California, both with the Gold Rush and the Transcontinental Railroad, which is true. And I was reading up on that just this past weekend, and I was reading about an early candidate for governor who was running on the platform of like anti-Chinese sentiments, and he became governor. He was Governor Stanford.
Leland? The old tycoon?
Oh yeah, he was a pretty big titan of industry. Probably one of the more famous people in California history around the time of the Gold Rush. And during his inaugural address, he even said, "To my mind, it is clear that their sentiment among us is to be discouraged by every legitimate means. Large numbers are already here, and unless we do something early to check their immigration, the question, which of the two tides of immigration meeting upon the shores of the Pacific, Caucasian or Asiatic, shall be turned back." During his inauguration, he was talking about California as being white man's country. Chinese prejudices and racism has been an issue for the entire time that California has been a state. Well, I'm sure it still happens in ways now, but legislatively, up until, when did you say that was?
1913. Well, no, sorry, 1952.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So 100 years of time. Quite a long time to be dealing with a state that's not really wanting you there, it seems.
Yeah.
Which is why I guess they made this town of theirs.
Well, one of the interesting things I thought is this is a legitimate Chinatown. Huell mentions this.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool because we're used to different districts in cities.
Yeah, like a neighborhood.
Yeah, like Japantown,
Mm-hmm.
Chinatown. That's pretty cool.
Koreatown, all those kind of. So the history of Locke is pretty interesting. I liked hearing about it.
Yeah, so it isn't discussed in this segment, but it was referred to as California's Monte Carlo.
Really? What do you
because
think that's supposed to mean?
Well, there's been mention of illicit activity that occurred there.
Yeah.
Whether it be, I don't know, I don't want to speculate, gambling, prostitution, things that were taboo.
Yeah.
Some still are these days. It was said by a Chinese historian, Alfred Lee, "What happens in Locke stays in Locke."
Do you think that phrase started in Locke and then migrated to Las Vegas?
I hope so.
That'd be, or maybe just because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas is just like it's like a PR campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I hope someone read that piece of history there that you just read and thought to themselves, you know what town would really be like that now? Blinky Vegas.
Yeah. Well,
Very
this
blinky.
interview may have been after the Vegas PR campaign too. So, either way,
Dates. Who cares about dates?
Yeah, dates. Locke, Vegas, they may have been close to the same thing.
Yeah.
That's all we're saying. But that was until the current governor, which is old Jerry Brown, as everyone...
Juggling Jerry Brown.
Juggling Jerry Brown. His dad, Pat Brown, or Edmund G. Brown, however you want to referred to him as, he was the elected state attorney general in 1950, and he set out to clean up California.
What, clean it up? Like all that illicit stuff that was going on?
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, in 1990, it seemed like a pretty slow place. Huell mentions that it's mostly tourists coming through there, and that's the start of the segment as we see it as far as the interviews go. And right off the bat, we got these tourists from Ohio who are there, whose mom was born nearby, and they wanted to kind of get a feel for the place. And their clothing is pretty basic, just kind of solid color shirts and all, but a lot of them had these tinted glasses. And we've seen that a couple times in the show so far. What is the deal with these? Because they're not sunglasses.
No, they're permatints. Is that the name we gave to them?
I think so.
I like that name. Yeah, we'll go with permatint.
It reminds me of Gorilla Monsoon. It's a deep reference right there, but those who know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that seemed to be prevalent. I think maybe my grandma had some permatints at some point.
I think everybody's
grandma.
Grandma. Well, I never met mine, so thanks for bringing that up. But I'd imagine she would have.
She must have.
Yeah, she must have.
It's up to you to write that history now.
Yeah, I just did.
Old Grandma Allan had the permatints.
You want to call them permatints or permatransitions?
But he talks to the tourists, and then he moves on to the painters, which we're right back to the straw hats. It seemed like you had to be wearing a straw hat to paint in Locke. Everyone's wearing one. Did you catch that line that the first painter lady said? She's just painting the landscape, or not the landscape, like the architecture, and she's just having a good old time, and she says, Chinese culture oozing out of every pore. What pores do these buildings have? And
figurative pores.
Oh, whatever. I guess I'm not an artist.
That's good. The older guy that's painting, Louis gives us a shot of the outside of the building, and then they show his painting.
And that nice pan down.
Hey, that's not too bad.
No,
that's pretty good.
You notice that's not the same guy, though, right? Little trickery.
Yeah, it is.
Editing trickery they're doing there.
That was the trick. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still is a good watercolor.
Doesn't take away from it.
No,
it's pretty good.
It's good. I'd buy it.
Now I think less of the guy before, but that's okay.
That's all right. Then
we go to my bar.
Al's place. Play some river dice. Which, don't know what that is. Looks like Yahtzee. Just dice in a cup. But there's money out. This is the gambling. This is
they're literally they're gambling. Yeah. Maybe he was just paying for his pink lady. What is he drinking?
It looks like a
old fashioned.
A Captain Stubing. I don't know.
I don't know anything about drinking.
Me either.
Well, this place formed in 1934. Is that what he mentioned?
Yeah, which is early on. That's not long after Locke was started. But this is quite an interesting little
hangout.
Yeah, I guess it's a restaurant and a bar and a hangout, and people like to enjoy steaks before they get interrupted.
Yeah, Huell barges in, and the first thing the guy says, that the person he's interviewing, the steak, did the plate just hit the table?
It doesn't look like he's... Okay, so there's elderly couple sitting at a table. The wife has a bite in mouth.
She's already started eating, yeah.
And Huell just blasts right in, and the old man says, "Oh, you cut me off at the pass." Because Huell really did just jump right in and start interviewing.
Initially, it's, that's pretty funny. But then you made the point, this doesn't seem as spontaneous as one would think when you think about it. Because the camera, Louis has the camera fixed on a tripod.
We're assuming.
We're
It's
assuming.
It's a very
Unless
static
unless
shot.
he just has a steady hand.
He's got a shoulder of iron, I think.
But yeah, I don't know. I think this was a setup, but
It's a great interaction either way.
it's a great interaction. And this guy, he sells it.
Big time.
So, you give credit to the guy.
And
He's interviewing.
Much like all the outdoor scenes seem to be straw hat centric. Every male person except Huell in this establishment, Al's place, is wearing like flannel shirts. Great flannels. And just, plaids in general. But I would take them all. I love a plaid.
Oh, yeah, they're cool. And what do you think about the guy sitting across the table, the third wheel over here? He's mentioned that the guy on the other side of the table, so not the couple, has showed him the place 15 years ago. Do you think he's been the third wheel for 15 years?
There isn't a place setting next to him, so
No.
must be. I don't know. I hope not for his sake.
Stupid.
Did you notice that the couple behind them seems quite aghast that there's a interview going on?
Yeah, and the lean-in
Yeah,
the guy does is kind of...
And did you see what's going on over there? Just a couple behind the couple we were talking about earlier who seem to not be thrilled with the fact that there's a television interview going on in Al's place.
This may be the 10th take, though.
You think they were doing takes back then?
I
Everything
don't know.
seems so
I mean,
spontaneous most of the time. I'm sure that there were times when you had a wily veteran who had to, you had to wrangle him in. This may be him. I mean, imagine if they are doing takes and he's getting cut off at the pass of the steak 4 or 5 times.
So come on, Huell. Come on.
My cut's getting cold.
He seems like a congenial guy, though.
Yeah, he's nice.
All right. So now we get to the bartender,
Yeah.
which, for anyone who knows who Christopher Langan,
Another name you just threw out there to me. I had no idea who you're talking about.
the face
But again,
just sticks. It's just seared into my brain.
you're right. I mean, it does look like this guy who... The bartender in the scene looks like the supposed smartest man in America.
Yeah, he's reported as the
Having
the highest IQ.
190 something.
Whatever. But I remember watching a small mini documentary on the guy, and he was a bartender. Okay, he was born in San Francisco. No, I'm sorry, bartender. I should say a bar bouncer.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't mean he could have started out as a bartender.
Or double duty.
Maybe he moonlighted, yeah.
Small town in Locke. Maybe you need one guy, a pretty bright guy, to do both jobs,
Well, anyway, looks just like him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Check it out for yourself. I don't know. He doesn't mention his name. He doesn't say, my name's not Chris, so don't search for me.
In Google, that doesn't exist yet. That's how smart he was. Or he's another time traveler. Maybe that's why he's so smart.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
He's just going back in time to when the IQ tests were easier.
Like Biff.
Tannen?
But
But
instead
instead of the Gray's Sports Almanac, he's getting the IQ test questions. I don't know about
Why
that.
not?
I guess.
All right, well.
We're at Al's place. We're heading to talk to some of the new residents of Locke, which is more of an artist crowd.
Which we talked about this a little bit. It reminds me of Bisbee in Arizona. Mm-hmm. Some sort of podcasters or comedians out there, right?
Doug Stanhope.
Yeah, that's right. And then there's Marfa, Texas. There are these little districts or little cities. And it seems like Locke, at least back then, there was at least a seed of artists that were around.
Maybe just, if we had this kind of supposed illicit behavior going on, it could have been inviting to a nonconformist, counterculture type person. Not that artists are necessarily that, but...
Wow.
Am I going too far?
No, not at all.
But the specific artist they talk to, again, we don't get a name.
Well, he's apparently a philosopher as well.
Yeah, because he says that Locke is great because it's slow and busy.
And then
Anything you like.
And I love it because Huell gives it right back to him. Just a laser beam question.
What do you mean?
Jinx. No, but he gives it back to him. What do you mean? Just throws it back at the guy. I love it.
Could be nobody. Could be 100 people. Could be 100 bikers.
I don't know.
All right, man. He's short-lived. We're on to Connie King. She's a local. She gives Huell a tour of the gardens.
Not just any tour, the $5 tour.
$5 tour. Seems like Huell has a lot of $5 tours going on. There might be a $5 tour later in the show. Just telling you. Did you notice that when she makes Huell try a date, that she brushes a bug off his face without asking? Hands him the date, brushes his face with her hand to get a bug off. He didn't even flinch. Didn't flinch a bit.
You know, I don't know much about the South, but I'm guessing he probably appreciated that.
I'm going to go with yes.
Lots of bugs and whatnot.
After Connie, we see good old Lee. Lee Bing.
And who is Lee Bing?
He's the son of the founder of Locke, Charles Lee Bing. And Lee has lived there his whole life. He knew Joe up on the balcony.
Which is Joe Chow.
Yeah.
So Lee Bing throws out a number that there are 20 to 25 Chinese.
Yeah.
Well, I checked at least the Locke website, and now there are 70 to 80 people that live in Locke, but the Chinese population is down to about 10.
Okay. So they're
Let's cut in
moving
half.
out, getting out of Dodge.
And just so if anyone was curious, the dialect spoken, because Huell mentions that it was a Seoul dialect,
Yeah.
Chinese people group, it's a form of Cantonese,
Okay.
which we love Cantonese cooking.
Over at Bill Lee's.
For Bill Lee's.
Bill Lee Bing.
All right, so that wraps it up in Locke.
And we're heading pretty far south. Huell, tell us where we're going.
Next, we go to a barbecue in Alvina Siva's backyard. Alvino lives in the town of Banning, which is located near Palm Springs in Riverside County. Now, this was quite a picnic, complete with homemade Indian fry bread, which is kind of like a fluffy tortilla. But I was invited not only for the good food and fellowship, but to witness firsthand an ancient Indian tradition. The Cahuillas are a Southern California tribe of Indians, which can trace their origins in the San Bernardino mountain area back at least 6,000 years. About 2,000 Cahuillas remain in the area on reservations and in the general communities. Now, what we're listening to is what some scholars feel may be the oldest music in North America. They're called Cahuilla Bird Songs, and they've never been written down. They've been passed down directly through the generations. And on this very special afternoon, Alvino and some of the other elders were teaching these songs to younger members of the tribe.
So we're in Banning, which Huell said was in Riverside County. I'm not really... Are you familiar with this area?
Sort of. I lived in Redlands, and I know that if you go east, you're bound to hit Banning before you get to the Cabazon dinosaurs and then into Palm Springs. I guess
So you're
Coachella.
going on the 10 down
yeah,
that
the
way?
10, yeah.
Okay.
But can't say that I've been there, but I am familiar with the San Bernardino Mountains,
Oh,
and I am fond of them.
yeah.
Well, I don't know about fond of them. I'm fond of them. I'll go with that.
What about those mountains in particular is so great?
Well, my second job was at a camp
That's
in the
right.
San Bernardino Mountains, Forest Falls. I was a professional dishwasher. and everyone else got to be in different parts of the camp. Some did recreation. They were lifeguards, doing cool stuff, meeting cool people, hanging out, laughing, watching people jump off the blob.
I was going to ask you, they had the blob,
They had
right?
the blob there, yeah.
Like in heavyweights.
I was in the farthest high school, I guess, Lakeview, I believe it was called, but far away from everybody. It was me and an 84-year-old lady named June, and we hung out all the time. And that was my experience with working there. So definitely wasn't as cool as everyone else's.
Yeah.
The people that got to go to Indian Village and do fun stuff like that. But when I think back now, it was fun.
Yeah. Well, I can see why you'd like it. And we see a couple shots of those mountains when Huell's explaining the Cahuilla peoples, and like there's some old period pictures during that little intro segment. And can you remember a time when Huell went to a location and was really just at a person's house?
No.
I'm way down the line, there's the Bunny Museum, which is just a person's house, but that's like a destination.
Right.
This is literally just...
This is like a Saturday afternoon.
It's Alvina Siva's house, and they're just in his backyard, and it's still interesting because they're doing the Cahuilla Bird Songs, which, according to Huell, some of the oldest songs in North America, which
did he mention what they were about? The transition of...
Yeah, it's basically their whole origin story, and a collection of myths involving like transforming of people into animals, stuff like that. Just a basic origin story of these peoples, how they moved from one place and decided to settle in the San Bernardino Mountains and are still there. Obviously not in the same cultural and environmental setting, but it was a pretty cool segment. It's pretty short, but
we get to see really just a bit of the music. We get Mark Macaro explaining the structure and the feel, which he's the young generation.
Yeah,
they're passing the torch to.
Seems like that's
Do
what's
have a
going on
question?
here. Yeah.
Concerns the bandanas.
Yeah.
You think bandanas were around back then, or is it just a
Maybe
modified?
Maybe in some form, but yeah,
It's a modified gear.
these kind of just these bandanas. Yeah,
It's for anyone if you're not watching. It's Lost Boys
it is. Yeah.
or like The Outsiders.
Mm-hmm. But my favorite one was Robert Levy, who does a lot of the dancing. He's the first one to kind of like feel the groove of the song and get up and dance. And his bandana matches his kind of blue patterned shirt. And he's looking hot. It's good look.
He looks good.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed, their voices, the timbre is perfect.
Yeah.
They all have radio voices.
Mm-hmm.
I was impressed.
I don't know if these are all family members or just, or just like part of this, kind of group, but they do all they all have that kind of real good radio voice there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like we said, it's a short segment because we're just in the backyard. We see a lot of the dancing. Huell kind of interviews the old generation, the new generation. I like it. It reminds me of going to... My mom owned a bead store when I was a kid. And...
I forget about this.
Yeah.
Okay. Just...
yeah, it was
a backstory.
It was I think she went to one in... like a beach town, maybe Morro Bay, I think, and thought, I could do that. So
Did you wear like the amber necklace?
No, a lot of turquoise. For sure had a lot of turquoise, but she would... There were a lot of like local Native American people who would come and make jewelry at her store. And then she kind of got plugged into that whole network there, and we would go to powwows in Porterville, and there was the one in
Where
here.
was it? It was in Bakersfield.
There was one in Bakersfield at BC, at Bakersfield College, for years. I don't think it happens there anymore, but we definitely went to the Porterville one, and me and my sister there's pictures of us in funny looking clothes, because
Were they creations of your mom's mind?
the shirts?
Yeah.
No, not the shirts. I mean, we definitely had odd chokers and other jewelry and things. Oh, there's a picture of us, me with a shirt with a screen print of like a dream catcher on it, and her in a denim skirt, I think, both of us with blue mouths because we're eating snow cones. It's pretty good. If I can find that picture, I'll pop it up because it's great. I remember not liking that
From Snow Shack?
I wish, no. I remember not liking those powwows because they always would have sage burning, and I didn't like that smell. I like it now, though.
That's a strong smell, though.
But that's what this kind of segment reminds me of, is that the feel of those dances and those gourd shakers and stuff is fun.
All right.
For my mom's beat store. But this is pretty far south, but we're going even further south, right?
We're going to North County in San Diego to the town of Vista.
And let's hear where we're going exactly in Vista.
Greetings from the Threshing Bee, an antique engine show held in Vista in northern San Diego County. Now, if you're into old steam engines, or old tractors, or old caterpillars, or any other kind of old steam-driven contraptions that huff and puff and put out smoke rings, you'd love this show. It all takes place on the grounds of the Antique Gas and Steam Engine Museum, and people come here from all over for an up-close and personal look at these wonderful old machines.
All right. So, the Threshing Bee. Have you ever been?
No.
No?
I wouldn't even know what that meant if it was being sold to me. Hey, let's go to the Threshing Bee.
Is it like a punk show?
Not quite.
Not Thrashing Bee.
No. But it's the Antique Engine Show at the Antique Gas and Steam Engine Museum in Vista, as we said. And it's basically a bunch of old tractors and machines.
It's like a tractor engine show.
Yeah.
It's kind of. So, is this still going on?
Oh, yeah. There's one coming up soon. Well, semi-soon. It seems like 4 different ones, because there's a group of weekends back-to-back in June, 16, 17, and 23, 24. And then again later this year in October, 20th, 21st, 27, 28. So you got 8 separate threshing bees to attend. And I think it's pretty cheap. It's only $10 for adults.
Kids under 12 are free?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That ain't bad.
You get to watch corn shelling.
Yeah.
Which we learned what that was.
Yeah, first interview we got.
You ever wondered how the kernels get popped off? Yeah, if you ever want to know, those kernels go flying.
Yeah. Did you notice in the shot where he pops the cobs in? Just above the frame is a person, man or woman, I can't tell, wearing a nice leather fanny pack.
Oh yeah. Well,
it's a belly bag. I think it's
a belly bag. Yeah.
The belly bag is when it's in front. Fanny pack when it's in back. I don't know.
That's a pretty big one.
Yeah, it's packed full. It could have been a wrestler in 1990. Maybe was that like could be like Jim the Anvil Neidhart at the Threshing Bee, maybe? I don't know.
For anyone interested, that is at 1946.
Yeah.
For the timestamp.
But like we were talking about, there's lots of straw hats, trucker hats. This is where it gets real heavy with the hats. It's a sunny day. Everyone's needing a hat.
They're pulling out their best hats.
Yeah, all shapes and sizes of straw hat.
So my favorite interaction, as we're talking about hats, is the guy whose Huell interviews about the antique concrete mixer.
Yeah.
And Huell, gives him a question. Why is this important to you? Or why'd you build this kind of thing? It's like, oh, because I built my house with it. And then Huell says back to the guy, with this one? And the guy just says, sure.
It's like neither of them knew what to do with that question.
No. So I'm going to go with that wasn't the one, that he built his house with one like that.
Maybe.
I'm going to go with that. The way he answered was,
Maybe this isn't even that man's mixer. He could have just been standing by it and thinking, huh.
Maybe someone said, hey, I'll buy you a churro if you just hang out by the mixer.
This does seem like the atmosphere where churros would be sold.
Oh,
Gives me a swap meet feel.
Yep. See that flag?
Oh, that like 1776 flag back there with the circular star pattern. So my favorite interaction, which I'm going to go back a couple episodes, the Santa Cruz episode, you said that the interview on the carousel was the weirdest interview perhaps in the show's history. Well, right here, which as we know, this was the first episode filmed and aired, even though it's not sequentially in the episode numbers.
Well, yeah.
Chronologically, it was the first. I think that right off the bat, they beat it. They couldn't get any better than this lady in a dress and bonnet.
Period clothing.
With Huell like riding sidecar, doing this bumpy interview while she's driving this tractor. It may not sound as weird as it's
super weird
as it is, but you got to see this.
Well, that comes right after. I don't want to refer to these people as elderly.
No,
but they're not young.
No,
in any sense of the term. But does that come after the hoedown? The tractor pulling the trailer? Oh, it's
before the hoedown.
Yeah, so the hoedown, to me, that was just dangerous. What do you think?
Well, to explain exactly what this is, it's a small, it's maybe 10, 15 people on a trailer that's being pulled by one of these rickety tractors, and they're dancing. It's like a full-on like barn dance going on a trailer, and no one even comes close to falling.
No.
Like it's almost as if they're on terra firma. But they're not.
Maybe they're just pros.
They do seem
pro-like.
Professional.
One thing that I noticed, and this happens a lot when talking to certain people about California's gold, is they will refer to it as California gold.
Yeah. And much like the whole debate about, Uncle Jesse, Uncle Joey, he's never called Joey, Uncle Joey in the show. Never.
That's true, huh?
It is. I watched it and looked out for it recently. But here's this.
Okay, I won't get into that. Okay.
This is the whole thing with this, is that you would think, oh well, Huell never calls California's gold California gold. You don't know what you're talking about. But right off the bat,
first episode, California gold.
Join us as we continue our search for California gold. It must have been like he did that first episode, and right in the editing room, they're like, "Hey, Huell,
dang it,
you got to make that possessive. This is California's gold."
Oh. Well, I guess since we're talking about this, Huell talks about continuing our search for California's gold.
Yeah.
Does that mean that he's never found it? Or that he wants to find more?
Well, you posed me with this question a while ago. And I've been going through all the episodes. I'm looking at I'm trying to get a feel for the show as a whole. And I showed you that episode where he goes down into a gold mine. They find gold. They melt it down. They make bars out of it. And he says, look, right there. That's the real California's gold. So as metaphorical as you tried to make that question, Huell got down to the most literal of senses and just literally found gold in the ground in California.
Okay, so he
California's gold.
finds it.
Yeah.
So he's still searching for it at this point.
At the point of this episode?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, up until he would find it, right?
But then he still, I think, well, if you want to take this a step further, maybe he found the gold and thought, much like Midas, maybe it wasn't gold that I really wanted. I thought I wanted nothing but gold. I need more. California's gold is more than just the literal metal in the ground.
Man, okay. I see where you're going with that. I just, to me it would be, as we continue our search for more California's gold, I'd be like, oh, we found some. Now we're going to look for some more. But I know what he means. It's just a saying.
Yeah.
It's just the way to end the show.
Thankfully, he did stick to the California's gold after this because California gold doesn't roll off my tongue as well.
No, but it's a common way to refer to the show amongst other people. I mean, I've heard it from, I'll conservatively say 4 people. California gold, and
These aren't your friends anymore, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
You're one of them. I'm just kidding. No, it's other people.
I almost ended the show right there.
Yeah,
Episode
this is it.
7,
We're
we
done.
had to stop. Speaking of stopping, that was the end of our show, the California Gold. Not the end of our show, the end of this episode.
This is it. We're done.
7 in, 7 out. 7 up.
7 down.
No, we'll be doing many more of
Okay.
these.
Yeah.
In fact, where are we going next week?
Well, we're kind of jumping around again.
Yeah, we were on that one city track for a bit. We hit 3 this week. Looks like we're hitting 3 next week.
Yep. Going to Ontario, then Stockton, then over to San Francisco.
Back to the Golden Gate. Open up that Golden Gate. California.
Here Huell comes.
Here Huell comes. But that's going to wrap it up for this week. We just hope that you come along with us next time as we continue our search for Huell's Gold.
Now, part of being a steam engine man is getting to blow the whistle, right?
Right. We blow the whistle. Somebody goes to work early and he blows the whistle to wake the people up and get them to come to work. They blow the whistle to stop for a coffee break, and they blow the whistle to stop for lunch, and then they blow it at the end of the day so they can go home.
Well, let's blow the whistle.
Okay, here we go.
Quitting time.